In 1999, a young hedge fund manager flew to Omaha just to watch one man eat breakfast. He sat in a diner 3 tables away and stared. He didn't say a word. He just watched Warren Buffett order the same thing he always orders, read the same newspaper he always reads, and sit in silence for almost an hour. That young man later said it was the most important morning of his career, not because Buffett told him some secret formula, not because he showed him a stock pick, but because of what he saw Buffett doing with his time. And once you understand what that was, you'll never look at success the same way again. Here's what most people believe about Warren Buffett. They think he got rich because he's a genius, a once-in-a-generation mind who can see the market the way the rest of us see traffic lights. Red, yellow, green. Buy, hold, sell. It's a comforting story, actually, because if Buffett is just a freak of nature, then the rest of us are off the hook. We can keep doing what we're doing and just say, well, I'm not Warren Buffett. But here's the problem. Buffett himself has said more than once that his IQ is not the reason for his success. He's even joked that if he could trade 50 IQ points for something else, he wouldn't take the trade. So if it's not raw genius, what is it? It's not a stock-picking trick. It's not a secret formula hidden in a vault in Omaha. It's something almost embarrassingly simple. Something so unglamorous that most people hear it and immediately tune out, thinking, that can't be it. Buffett reads, that's it. That's the headline. But stay with me, because the way he reads and what it built inside his mind over 70 years is the actual engine behind one of the largest fortunes in human history. When people hear he reads a lot, they picture someone skimming the news over coffee. That is not what this is. Buffett has said he spends about 80% of his working day reading, not glancing, not skimming, reading deeply for 5-6 hours a day, every single day, for decades. Charlie Munger, his longtime business partner, once said something that should stop you in your tracks. He said, Warren is one of the best learning machines on this earth. And then he added this detail. Berkshire Hathaway wouldn't be what it is if Buffett hadn't kept learning every single day, well into his old age. A learning machine, not an investing machine, not a money machine, a learning machine that happens to make money as a side effect. This habit didn't appear out of nowhere. It started when Buffett was a kid in Omaha, broke, awkward, terrified of public speaking. While other boys were out playing ball, young Warren was sitting in the local library, working his way through every book on finance and investing he could find. By the time he hit his teens, he had already read most of the investment titles available at the Omaha Public Library. Then, at 19 years old, something happened that changed the entire trajectory of his life. He picked up a book called The Intelligent Investor by a Columbia professor named Benjamin Graham. He later called it the best investing book ever written, not because it gave him a hot stock tip, but because it gave him a framework, a way of seeing the market not as a casino, but as a place where patient, careful thinking could win. So what did Buffett do next? He didn't just admire Graham from a distance. He applied to Columbia Business School specifically to study under him. He got in. He impressed Graham so much that he became one of the very few students ever to receive a perfect grade in his class. Notice what happened here. A habit of reading led him to one specific book. That book led him to one specific teacher. That teacher handed him a mental framework he would use for the rest of his life. This is the pattern you need to remember because it shows up again and again. Let's fast forward. In the 1960s, Buffett read about a company most investors had completely written off, a struggling textile mill called Berkshire Hathaway. Everyone else saw a dying business. Buffett, because of everything he had absorbed about value and pricing, saw an opportunity hiding in plain sight. He bought in. It became the vehicle for everything that followed. Then, in the 1970s, a friend introduced him to a young man named Charlie Munger. The two of them spent hours discussing books, ideas, businesses, history, psychology. Munger pushed Buffett to evolve, to stop just hunting for cheap stocks and start hunting for wonderful businesses at fair prices. That shift, born out of conversation and shared reading, is part of why Buffett didn't just become rich. He became one of the richest people who has ever lived. And here's a detail that still surprises people. In the 1980s, Buffett read about a small candy company called See's Candies. On paper, it looked unremarkable, but Buffett recognized something in its brand loyalty, something he had studied in other businesses for years. He bought it. It became one of the most profitable investments, relative to its size, in Berkshire's entire history. Notice the pattern again. Read, recognize, act. Every major move in Buffett's life traces back to something he read, connected to something he had already learned years, sometimes decades, earlier. This is where it gets interesting, because there is real science behind why this works. And it's not magic. It's compounding. Not just money compounding, knowledge compounding. Here's the simplest way to understand it. Imagine two people start reading one serious book a week. After 1 month, they each know 30% more than before. Not a huge difference, but after 1 year, person 1 has absorbed 52 books worth of frameworks, patterns, and mental models. After 10 years, that's over 500 books. After 50 years, which is roughly how long Buffett has been doing this, you are looking at a mind built from thousands of books, each one connecting to the others, like a web growing more tangled and more powerful with every new thread. This is exactly why Buffett can look at a business for 10 minutes and make a decision that takes other analysts weeks to reach. It's not faster thinking. It's that he's not starting from zero. He's pulling from 50 years of pattern recognition stacked on top of itself. Munger had a phrase for this. He called it the lattice work of mental models. Picture a fence made of crisscrossing wood, where every new piece of knowledge slots into the gaps left by the previous ones, making the whole structure stronger. Most people read a book and forget it in a month. Buffett read a book and let it become one more piece of that fence, permanently. Now here's the uncomfortable part. If this habit is so powerful, and Buffett has talked about it publicly for decades, why doesn't everyone do it? Because reading 5 hours a day on dense financial reports does not feel like progress. There's no dopamine hit, no instant result. You close the book, and your bank account looks exactly the same as it did this morning. Our brains are wired to chase what feels rewarding right now, not what compounds quietly over 30 years. There's also a harder truth. Most people don't lack the time. They lack the patience. We live in a world of 15-second videos and instant answers, and slow, deep reading feels almost unnatural now. It asks you to sit with boredom. Buffett has spent his entire life comfortable with exactly the kind of boredom most people run from. And one more thing holds people back: pride. It's uncomfortable to admit that the richest investor in history isn't smarter than you. He's just more disciplined about an extremely simple habit. It's easier to call it genius and walk away than to admit the door has been open the whole time. So how does an average person actually start this without quitting their job to sit in a library for 10 years? You don't need 5 hours a day. You need consistency over decades, not intensity over weeks. Start absurdly small. 20 minutes a day, before your phone, before social media, on one subject that actually matters to your life or your field. It could be your industry. It could be personal finance. It could be psychology, history, or how successful people in your specific field think. Pick books over headlines, because headlines give you noise, and books give you frameworks that last for years. Reread the ones that change how you think, because Buffett has gone back to The Intelligent Investor more than once. And the second read often teaches you more than the first. And most importantly, connect what you read to what you already know. That's the actual secret behind the lattice work. It's not the reading itself. It's linking new ideas to old ones until your brain starts doing what Buffett's does, recognizing patterns instantly because it has already seen the shape before. Here is the part that should stay with you. Buffett didn't get rich the day he picked up The Intelligent Investor at 19. He didn't get rich the day he bought Berkshire Hathaway, or the day he met Charlie Munger, or the day he bought See's Candies. He got rich on every single ordinary day in between. The days nobody was watching. The days that felt like nothing was happening at all. That young hedge fund manager who flew to Omaha just to watch Buffett eat breakfast and read his newspaper, he didn't walk away with a stock tip that day. He walked away with something far more valuable. He understood for the first time that the most powerful habit in the world doesn't look powerful at all. It looks like an old man quietly turning pages, while the rest of the world is busy chasing something faster. You don't need his money to start what he started. You need 20 minutes and the patience to let it compound while almost everyone else gives up. The library is still open. The only question left is whether you'll walk in.